Today I'm going to talk about paper making, why I do it, how I do it. There was something else I was going to talk about. I had 3 things to talk about, but I don't remember them, so I'm just going to say what I do remember. So this is one of the pieces that I made yesterday. It's pretty thin, pretty fragile, but it's usable. So people were kind of wondering what I made this out of. So you can use really anything. People put yarn, flowers, maybe even confetti in it. For this, I only used newspaper, some thin cardboard, and pieces of a coloring book that I'm not using anymore. So it kind of might seem a little weird to be using paper to make paper, but the way that I think about it is that this isn't a newspaper, but it's the closest thing I have. That if you take a newspaper, right, it has like words all over it, pictures all over it, so you can't really write on that or use it. But by kind of blending it up and mixing it with other paper, you can turn it into something that you can actually use to write on. You can see like little words in here, but they're not as prominent as on a newspaper. So this kind of just takes unusable paper and makes it into actual functioning paper. So I was taught how to do this past weekend at Envirothon, and I kind of just copied exactly what they did. So last time I did this, I had some leftovers, so I strained out my bucket, and then I got these leftover. They're probably still wet. So now I'm going to teach you how to make it. So these are my just clumps of newspaper and cardboard and coloring book paper I'll put in here. So what you're gonna need is a tote, not this big, but big enough for your screen to kind of fit through it. I just bought this at the dollar store. I think it's used for like cooking or something. Yeah, so you're gonna need one of these. And as big as it is as big as your paper is gonna be. So you can make circular paper like me, or I see a lot of people using a circle screen and then cutting it to make it into like a rectangle or a square. But yeah, you're definitely gonna need one of these. You're also going to need fabric. You're gonna need like some scrap fabric about the size, maybe a bit bigger than your screen. And this is gonna be what your paper stays on to dry. An important thing about the fabric that you use is the texture of your fabric is going to be the texture of your paper. So if you have kind of thick fabric with like flowers on it, maybe more of like a curtain type fabric, that's going to show up on your paper. But if you want more of like a thinner paper, use like more of a flat fabric. So that it's not really giving you thinner paper, it's going to give you like a more flat paper. Another thing that you're going to want to know about fabric is that the straighter it is, the straighter and less wavy your paper is going to be. So if you have like crinkled fabric when you're putting your paper down on it to dry, those crinkles are going to be into your paper. Yeah, I think that is all I have to say about the fabric. You're also going to need a sponge and a blender, so I will be right back. So this is the blender, and what I'm going to put in it, just a regular blender. I'm going to put in these, my little old paper clumps. I think I'm going to break them up first though, so that they're not just going in as clumps. This is your old homework if you're a student and you're not taking class anymore. I feel like it's a good use of homework is 2 years cycled. So I'm not going to do any of like the fancy flower paper or yarn paper today, because I'm just going to show you the basics. Okie dokie. Now I'm going to add in some extra paper that I had laying around. It doesn't always have to be white, just so you know. This is just like to-do lists that I don't need anymore because I've probably completed what I have to do. But yeah, you can also like rip up mail, the flyers that you get in your mailbox. you don't use just a lot of dripping. Doesn't have to be too small of a size, but don't put in like a full sheet because that doesn't work very well. After you have all of your paper in here, you're gonna add some water. That should be good. So in case you can't see, that's about where the water is. I probably put too much in, but better to have too much than not enough. Now we blend. Why did we stop? Perfect. Now you have like some paper sludge. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to take it and I'm going to pour it into my bucket. I'm actually going to see if I can move you around so you can see better. Does that work? Okay. I'm going to move my jar out of the way because I don't need it for now. But this is my bucket. Some people don't like this part because I don't know why, but it grosses some people out. But it doesn't gross me out. So you're gonna take your sludge. Yummy. And now it's in your tote. And you need more. So we're gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep adding more paper and putting water in. You can keep doing the same. And then I will come back once I've done that. Now that your sludge looks like this, can you see that? Hopefully you can see that. You're gonna add lots of water. So hang on. Do my forehead for now. Okay. So now, actually, yeah. I'm gonna put you that way for now. So I'm gonna set up my towel, which you're gonna need. My screen, your screen can go on the side. And then your fabric. When you on your towel, show you the process. I just figured I would show you how I have my station set up first. So next, it's going to be the actual paper making. So, you take your water. You're going to want lots of it. Pour it into the pulp. So now, it looks like this. I have a really sweet sponge, so hopefully you have a bigger sponge, and if you don't, that's okay too. I'm trying to figure out how I can do this. Okay, hopefully this is gonna work. Hopefully. Okay, so step number 1. You're gonna take your screen. You're gonna put it into the bottom. You see that screen? And then you're gonna grab it and pull it. So this is kind of what you have. And then you can push on the bottom to help the water drain out. And then you're gonna do this great part, which is make sure that your fabric is flat and then you're gonna flip it over. Now my fabric wasn't flat, but that's fine. And then you're gonna sponge it. Hopefully you have a bigger sponge until you can't really sponge any more water off. Okay, now that you have sponged it all off, you're going to carefully take your screen, push down on the edges, and lift up. And if you find that your paper is still sticking to your screen, then you just need to sponge it more. Alright, this is my first piece of paper. So you can see here how it's a bit transparent. That just means that I didn't have enough pulp there. If you're incredibly unhappy with it, you could just throw it back in the bin and then re-screen it. So, now that I'm done this, I'm gonna move it to the side. Be careful not to touch this, because any small jostles can mess up your paper. So now, you have made your first piece of paper. So now you're gonna get a new piece of fabric, and we're gonna do it all over again. So you can also feel free to mix up the color first. And then you're gonna take your screen, dunk it in, shake it around, lift it up. There you go. And it's important that when you flip it over, you're flipping it over so that the screen is on the top side, not on the bottom. Lost my sponge. And now we sponge. Alright, and now we are going to pull it off again. So I like to start where my handle is. And I just lightly pull, sticking to the screen a bit. Which is not ideal, but that's okay. Perfect. Now it's really important that if you do want rectangle paper, you don't cut it while it's wet. You cut it while it's dry. Otherwise your edges are gonna get all messed up. So now I just put it on top of my first one. So I lift up the corners and drag it over. And then I get my next piece of fabric ready. And if you feel your towel, it should be pretty soaked because it's also absorbing water from under the paper, and when you push on that sponge, it's kind of pushing water into the towel. We're gonna do the exact same thing again. Stir it up a bit. And I'll put my screen in, shake it up a bit. You can see that the pulp isn't gonna be even, so I give it a stir. Starting to thin because I didn't put as much paper in as last time. Okay. More sponging, which I don't think you need to watch me do. So I will, actually, this is pretty much the entire process. It's just scooping, sponging, moving. Eventually I'm gonna move them onto a table to dry, and I'll spread them all out, and I'll show you how to do that, but I'm not gonna record the rest of the paper that I make today. But I will record me putting them down on the table to dry, and also peeling them off the fabric when they are ready. Now that I'm done paper making, I'm gonna take a strainer and strain my pulp through it so that I'm not wasting any paper. Pour it in. So this is what you kind of should get. And then I'm gonna put that into my jar. I'm just gonna kind of scrape at it. So it kind of makes it kind of mush. And I'm just gonna take it in my hand and squeeze it. And then I have that. And then I put it in my jar. And then I do it again. Notice the water having a hard time going through. That's when you should probably take your pulp out. Look at all that pulp. And I'm going to do the same thing. I take it in my hand and I squeeze the water out. And I have another kind of like hairball looking thing. Okay, so last time I carried my paper in here on a cutting board. I put them one by one so they wouldn't get wrecked, but this time I just willy-nilly picked them up. So now I have this table set up in my room and I literally just pick up the fabric and move it over. So there's one, and then I'll put another one here. And you just want to make sure that the paper isn't overlapping and that it's not hanging off the side of a table. And then I do fold this fabric up a little bit so that side can kind of breathe. And then I'll do the same thing over here. I made more paper than I thought I did. Just kind of spread them out. And there's another one under there. So I will move that to where the tripod was. Alrighty, now all of my papers are set up and then they will dry for about 24 hours. And then I will show you how to peel them off, which is not as scary as it seems. So when you are taking, your paper has dried, given it 24 hours, all you're gonna do is peel it off. Just go gently. And there you go. Your paper is ready. So it dried like this because of the way that the fabric was creased. You can see those creases in the paper. I don't mind. That's fine. But if you really hate it, like I said, you can still take this, just add water, and then you can reblend it and then make new paper. So again, you're just kind of separating like that and just pulling it off. Really easy. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video and you have learned how to do something. And if you do end up making paper, let me know and you can tag me. I don't know how YouTube works. But yeah, I'd love to see how yours turned out.